Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson, with what I would call bombshell news that J.D. Vance dropped in an article on the American Conservative. And I have to tell you, they have actually got in this Ukraine supplemental bill a way to impeach Donald Trump in the future. This is going to blow your mind. Let's get right into it. So this was titled The Republican Plot Against Donald Trump because everybody thinks, oh, it's Democrats versus Republicans. No, Republican Senate leadership does not like Donald Trump. They do not like his conservative ways because he's the fly in the ointment, people. This weekend, this by J.D. Vance, this weekend, Senate Democrats, joined by a few Republicans, including most of the Republican leadership, forced through a security supplemental that spends close to $100 billion, most of it on Ukraine. It was the culmination of months of secretive negotiations on border security. See, none of these negotiations were done out in the open on the Senate floor, not even close. Those negotiations produced a border security product unacceptable to most Republicans. So then Republicans voted it down. And then an hour later, we're debating a security supplemental with border security stripped out. So as bad as the border security bill was, what they were doing was attempting to use that as leverage, the conservatives, because they knew that these jokers would vote for Ukraine spending anyways. So they said, hey, let's at least get something good for the border because the other bill sucked. We've covered that at length, at 5,000 illegal crossings per day. It has to go on for a week at a rate higher than the crossings are even right now. That's known crossings, people. We're not talking about people crossing the border not at the checkpoints. We're talking about crossings that we know about. The quick pivot, refusal to negotiate another round on border security, and immediate shift to blame Trump confirmed one thing. Republican leadership wasn't serious about border security. They cared most about Ukraine funding and saw the border negotiations as a distraction. This extinguished any hope of real border security before the negotiation began. The story our leadership tells is that of the politics of border security, and it had changed because of Donald Trump. James Lankford dutifully negotiated bipartisan border product. Conservative Republicans encouraged this negotiation. When the product took shape, Donald Trump demanded conservatives walk. Here's the problem with that narrative, people. J.D. Vance was against this before Trump ever talked about it. Many of these conservatives like Cruz and so on were against this before Trump said a thing. And then the question is, why would you want to give the Democrats such a big political gift? The news media ran with that story and saying, oh, geez, see, Trump's worried about the politics of it and wants to, take down the good faith negotiations between Democrats and conservatives. Well, there were no conservatives involved in the negotiation. This is a fairy tale that makes conservative senators and Donald Trump look bad, perhaps by design. In truth, the demands conservative senators made at the beginning of the negotiation went like this. Joe Biden can fix this problem, but he refuses. So we must make him do his job. This posture came along with specific demands from senators ranging from Ukraine supporters like Marco Rubio to Ukraine aid skeptics like me and those in the middle like Ron Johnson. We argued that we could condition further Ukraine aid on decreased illegal border crossings. In other words, Congress would appropriate money to Ukraine in stages. If Biden refused to drive down border crossings, he wouldn't get his money for Ukraine. But the best part of what J.D. Vance has to say comes at the end when he says this. This is where it gets mind-blowing. For months, I have been confident that Donald Trump would be reelected as president. But this is how you snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. The Republican establishment is going to war for more Ukraine money. They don't care if a second Trump term is collateral damage. But of course, they have an insurance plan, even if Trump pulls it off. Though few have noticed, buried in the bill's text is a kill switch for the next Trump presidency. The legislation explicitly requires funding for Ukraine well into the next presidential term. The Washington Post has already reported this provision was added to control Donald Trump. It gets worse. Back in 2019, Democrats articulated a novel theory of impeachment based on Trump's refusal to spend money from USAI, Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. 5 years after impeaching Trump for refusing to spend money on Ukraine, they have drafted a new law that requires Trump to spend money on Ukraine. If he negotiates an end to the war, as he has promised to do, they will undoubtedly argue that he has broken the law. We are nearly a year away from an election that could give Trump the presidency, and Ukraine-obsessive Republicans have already given the Democrats predicate to impeach him. Slava Ukraine, America be damned. It's as bad as it gets, people. That's why primaries are so important. That's why you getting involved in your local election apparatus is so important. So please get involved. Remember to support my sponsor, MyPillow. That's right, MyPillow.com. Promo code Lumberjack for big savings. Peace out.